My 27th cousin, 27th, is determined to prove my husband, 29, is having an affair, but I know he isn't. How do I get her to stop? My cousin and I are extremely close. We share the same friendship circle. We went to the same high school and college. We lived together before I moved in with my boyfriend, now husband. She is one of the people I trust the most in this world. I've been married to my husband for 2 years now, together for 7. 6 months after I got married, my cousin came over one day whilst my husband was at work and broke down crying. She kept apologizing and saying she should have told me sooner. When I finally got her to calm down, she told me my husband was having an affair, that she'd seen him with his mistress before we got married, but she knew how happy I was that she couldn't ruin it by telling me, but she warned him to end it or she would tell me. She claims she's seen him with multiple other women since, that he takes them to fancy restaurants and is very handsy with them despite being in locations where people we both know could easily see him. She said she followed him once and he ended up at a hotel with another woman and he was in there for over an hour. I asked her if she had any proof and she said she never thought to take pictures, but she was sure she would catch him again soon, and I should snoop to see if I can find anything in his phone. I told her I wasn't comfortable doing that, and she got insistent that I need to before he left with me for one of his our words. I never ended up snooping. The next few days she sent me link after link to websites and forums about infidelity. At first I ignored them, but then she would start pointing out the telltale signs of cheating, working late, overprotective of his phone, caring about his appearance more, etc. And examples of when my husband was exhibiting that type of behavior. I started obsessively reading them and analyzing every small thing my husband did. We started fighting a lot, which I would blame on him because that is what people who are having an affair do. A month after my cousin's accusation, my husband got a promotion and started working even later than he already was. In the career he has, it's normal/expected to work late, but I was so paranoid at this point that it was just another sign that he was having an affair. 2 months go by and my husband's patience finally runs out. He sits me down and says we need to talk. I was so convinced he was finally going to confess, and a part of me was so strangely excited that he was finally going to validate my paranoia. Obviously, that isn't what happened. He asked me if something was wrong. He said he had tried to be patient, thought I would come to him when I was ready, but he couldn't take the constant fighting anymore, and he needed me to be honest about what he had done to make me so angry with him. This was probably the time I should have come clean about my fears about him having an affair, but all of the posts I have read drilled it into you that you shouldn't confront a cheater unless you already had solid proof, as it would just lead to them taking the affair underground. So I made some story up about how I was having a hard time adjusting to being someone's wife instead of just a girlfriend. He asked what he could do to help, and I just shrugged it off and said I needed time. He suggested marriage counselling, but I turned it down. Months go by and I force myself to put on a happy note. Eventually my husband seems to relax and accept my earlier excuse behind my weird behavior. We stop fighting. At the same time, my cousin keeps pushing me to snoop. I told her I couldn't bring myself to do it, and I would just ask him if I could look through his phone. She kept telling me not to do it because he would just delete everything. During this time, I kept asking her to show me proof since she continued to claim she was seeing him with different women weekly. She kept making up excuses for why she never took a picture, until one day she sent me a picture of him ... and his cousin. It wasn't even an incriminating picture. It was just him and her talking/smiling me out of the bubble. And I knew that my behavior these past few months may have destroyed my marriage. But I had to be honest. When my husband got home from work, I was in a pretty bad state. I showed him the picture and told him everything I've written in this post. I asked him if she'd asked him to stop seeing this other woman, and he denied ever having that conversation with her. He was understandably horrified and upset I didn't trust him enough. We talked it through, and we both agreed neither of us wanted a divorce. He ended up telling me he wanted me to try counselling, and he wanted me to distance myself from my cousin. I was defensive about the latter, but he told me we could try this. For 2 months or we separated now because he couldn't stay in a relationship which had so little trust. I reluctantly agreed and sent her a text saying I wouldn't be able to contact her for a while because I needed to focus on getting help. She was upset, but I blocked her to avoid being tempted to texting her back. My husband also sent her a letter saying he would go seek legal action if she continued to stalk him. I go to therapy and I'm a lot better now. We also go to couples counseling and it's really helped. My husband has been a huge help and I'm not a paranoid mess anymore. When the pandemic hit, I reached out to my cousin to make sure she was okay. My husband agreed to this. She was really happy I'd reached out, and during the lockdown things were like old times again. My husband was working from home, so there were no more claims she saw him with this woman or that woman. Now, though, with the lockdown easing, she's starting to make the same old claims again. She keeps insisting my husband is with someone else, even on days he's chosen to work from home. So I know he is not. When I point the fact that he's home, she quickly makes up an excuse about how she must have seen something. She is convinced he gaslit me into submission or something. I want a relationship. My marriage is in a happy place, and I won't ruin that again. I keep trying to think of a logical explanation for what she is doing, and I can't. How can I convince her to stop? Is this relationship salvageable, or sure, I give up? I noticed the irony of posting on here after how paranoid reading forums like this made me in the past. Too long. Don't read. My cousin convinced me my husband was cheating on me. It led to me being in a really bad mental state. I'm getting help now, and I know he isn't. But she is starting back up with the accusations again. How do I prove to her he isn't? It sounds like your cousin really believes this, which makes me wonder about her mental state. Does she want you to be single again so you will have more time for her? Whatever is going on there, I think therapy for her would be helpful, if she would consider it. I don't think there's any other way you can be married and friends with your cousins. Tell your cousin that as far as you're concerned, this topic is closed. From now on, if she brings it up, the conversation is over. You will not discuss this with her any more. Make sure that she understands these new rules. The rules with her. You will probably have to end a few conversations before she gets the idea. If she still doesn't stop, she needs professional help. This is a hard thing to respond to because obviously we don't know the whole dynamic of everything, but has your cousin ever shown signs in the past where she could be a compulsive liar? I'm not insulting her by asking this because it can legitimately be something mentally wrong with someone and they actually 100% believe the lies that they're telling. Also, when you got married, did you find yourself not spending as much time with said cousin? Is there a chance she could be experiencing some jealousy and feeling like you don't have time for her anymore? So she is sabotaging the relationship so you have more time to spend with her. I'm treading lightly here because it sounds like she means a lot to you and him, not trying to insult her.